I wanted to do something that was sustaining and long-term. And I felt that, kind of a one-time bonus felt a bit gimmicky to me, to be honest with you. And we also have, as I looked at the data, very high participation in our 401k program. And so that signaled to me very clearly that employees valued it. This has honestly been on kind of my wish list. And when tax reform came through, I talked to the other folks on our executive team, and I said, this is one that should come immediately off the wish list and become reality, because we actually have the opportunity to do it. And we're spending a lot of time thinking about what to do with the benefits of tax reform in terms of investing in growth in our business and investing in our employees. But this one felt like a good start to the year.
You have been at Visa more than a year now. It's been an incredible period, not just of stock growth, but also economic activity. Overall, how does the global economy look to you right now? Because Visa has a very unique look into how transactions are happening across the globe.
We really do. The last year has been a really terrific growth period in terms of economies around the world. And in fact, almost every big economy around the world has looked quite good. Brazil had an issue for a period of time throughout 2017, but it's actually looked better towards the back end of the year. The reality is that more and more people are becoming global citizens. There's more travel, and that obviously helps. And then e-commerce has certainly been a boom, as people can buy anywhere, anytime, from any place. And that has generated a lot of positive momentum. But in general, if you look at job creation, has been quite positive around the world. And it certainly appears like consumer sentiment around the world is quite good. But it's been a prolonged period of good economic times, and certainly when you're in a job like mine, one of the things I think I get paid to do is be paranoid. So certainly looking at making sure that we take advantage of this period of economic soundness, but we're keeping our eye out for what could happen downstream.
One of the questions that I get all the time when people find out that I work for CNBC is about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. What's your answer to that question? And I'm sure you get a lot too. Hey, is this real? Should I buy some Bitcoin? Is this a threat to Visa?
I think it's still evolving, but my take is that Bitcoin is much more today a commodity, and that somebody could invest in, and honestly somewhat of a speculative commodity that people could invest in. And if, depending upon when you got into the crazy cycle of what's happened with Bitcoin over the last 3 months and whether you've gotten out at the right time, you could have made a bunch of money. I don't view it, John, as a payment system player. In fact, we at Visa won't process transactions that are cryptocurrency based. We'll only process fiat currency-based transactions.
How much do you care whether somebody pays with one of these or a card?
Or a Fitbit, or a Garmin.
Or an iris scan, or...
We don't. In fact, over time, we want to talk much more about payment credentials, which could be a real form factor, or they could simply be numbers in the digital world, bits and bytes in the digital world. And increasingly, we want to talk about places and things where people can use or pay. And it's not, so the word merchant locations or businesses is also going to become obsolete. As the Internet of Things emerges and we see many more connected homes and connected cars and connected offices, you may end up with 4, 5, 6, 8 places in your home where you can actually buy from. You could buy from your refrigerator, you could buy from your washing machine, you could buy from your television. And we at Visa are trying to make sure that we work with manufacturers around the world to create an on-ramp to facilitate payments from any of those locations, regardless even as to what form factors used. We're a set of rails that operates in over 200 countries, another 50 territories. We could settle in 160 currencies, and we want to make sure that our rails, which are as global as they are as secure as they can be, and we don't actually care how a transaction enters into those rails. It can come in any kind of form factor and be used anywhere, and we just want to be in the middle of that.
All your transactions are belong to us. It's interesting. We talked there at the show about these credit cards. So I just got one. Just getting used to the chip, but now contactless is coming. This is actually a card you wave in front of the terminal, kind of like a phone, and you can do the transaction that way. I do want to note about the 401ks. Some Visa employees pointed out to me about 2.5, 3 years ago, they cut the pension entirely, so boosting up the 401k gets them closer to even on that. We talked a lot more, talked about Ken Chenault. Al Kelly was at American Express for 23 years before getting to Visa. He interviewed with Ken Chenault when he came in, and Ken was a lower level guy. He's of course going to retire as the CEO of American Express shortly. Catch all of that on the podcast, Fortt Knox. That's on Apple, Overcast, Stitcher, and more. That's coming this weekend. Right now, you can enjoy my conversation with Damon John on Fortt Knox if you subscribe.
Always a good interview, Damon John. But that's a definitive answer on Bitcoin from a payment standpoint. As definitive as we've heard.
It's very interesting, detailing why they don't accept cryptocurrencies in transactions right now, as we talked about in the 10 o'clock, that gap between when you make the transaction and you use the service. If Bitcoin does what it did today and moves, 13%, exactly when did the transaction take place? What does the retailer expect? What does the user expect? And I'm not sure that I have a problem with the way payments are happening digitally right now, as far as my ability to have record of them, the speed of them. To what degree are cryptocurrencies going to improve that? That's what Al Kelly's thinking about.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.